so I have uploaded my top 10 best movies of 2018 list. Now it is time for the top 10 worst movies of 2018. Movies I do not want to talk about ever again after this. Same rules apply. These are not reviews, just me summing up how I felt about the movies, as well as the fact that you might not agree with every movie on this list. And again, I am filming this the same day that I filmed my top 10 best movies of the year list. So, yeah, my voice is gone. It's going to be gone by the end of this video. So, I do have some honorable mentions. Some steaming shit piles that deserve to die that didn't quite make the list. Happy Time Murders. Go murder somebody else and make it a sad time, like in hell. Rot in hell. I feel pretty. I feel violated after watching this. Midnight Sun, more like Midnight Boar. Oh, I hate Bella Thorne. The 1517 to Paris. Can I just take the 310 to Yuma and watch that movie instead? 1517 to Paris. Go rot in a cell. Skyscraper. Who wants to watch a movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in a giant golf ball? Boring, Die Hard ripoff. I hope that movie dies hard. Hellfest. Yeah, it was a Hellfest. In the movie theater. Proud Mary, generic action movie for females that did not do anything. And with that, let's get into the list of top 10 worst steaming pieces of shit of 2018. Number 10, Red Sparrow. I thought about this for a long time. This wasn't even on the list for a good majority of the year. This replaced Skyscraper, and it's because of this. Not only is this movie super confusing, and it has a bunch of subplots that take precedence over the main plot, but this movie's just sexist. Like, it's not the movie women should watch to feel better about themselves. And I'm not really an advocate about whether or not, like, oh yeah, I mean, like, if it's an important movie for women, I'll be like, yeah, it's important, it's an important step in the right. But I'm not one of those people that's like an advocate for, like, you know, I mean, it doesn't bother me or anything, but, like, yeah, it bothered me in this movie. It's sexist, okay? This movie is, like, it's boring, it's sexist, it's over-the-top violence. I don't know how anybody could like this movie. Jennifer Lawrence phones it in. It's just like, oh, look, Jennifer Lawrence naked. Big whoop-diddy-doo. Just Google her naked pics on Google, perverts. Number 9, Axel, or AXL? I don't know how you say that. This is the first movie I went to see after I came back from a bachelor party in Florida. I don't know why I went to go see this movie, because there were so many other better movies out at the time. This is like a Transformers ripoff, but surprisingly worse. How is it worse? Because you have Becky G sitting there as like the Megan Fox chick of everything, and it's just terrible acting. Characters I don't give a shit about. What is Thomas Jane doing in this movie? It's a poorly written movie with terrible bad guys that are behind the scenes for the entire movie. That can work if you're, you know, like Palpatine in Star Wars, but you gotta have a guy at the front lines like, you know, Vader. This movie doesn't have that. These bad guys, they're bad. They're idiots. They're dumb. They really are bad guys. And by that I mean, they're idiots. They're dumb. Ho, 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 ho. John Travolta. Your performance as Gotti was awful. The fact that this movie even got made, I am completely surprised. John Travolta's performance is so polarizing. He's got an accent one moment, and then he just speaks in his regular John Travolta voice the next moment. It's so poorly written. And the fact that this movie was produced by MoviePass, and the marketing team behind this was literally scolding people for not going to see this movie. After it got terrible reviews, and they were literally calling out all the critics, yeah, I can't get behind that shit. If your movie's terrible, your movie's terrible. Okay? This was like MoviePass's last attempt to stay relevant. They died completely. Okay? Movie Pass does not exist anymore. I hope they know that. I'm pretty sure they don't. Number 7, that stupid fucking smile. Truth or Dare. I dare this movie to go into a box, rot, and die. There's nothing about this movie that's all that interesting. This is like one of those movies that's so bad it's good, and you could just turn it on with friends at a party or something. This movie sucks. There's no mention of this demon. They mention him for like 5 minutes, and they don't even do anything with him. All these character decisions are so dumb. They're such a complete waste of time. I can't believe the dude who made Kick-Ass 2, which is mediocre, made this movie. The Cloverfield Paradox had to be one of the most disappointing movies I have ever seen in my entire life, and it was one of the worst movies I have seen this entire year. Everything has to be connected with this movie to Cloverfield. You even have the giant Cloverfield monster pop up from the clouds at the end of the movie. It's like, oh hey, look, here's Clover. He's relevant. This is where he came from. This movie makes no sense. It's got terrible acting. It was advertised the same night as the Super Bowl. It came out the same night as the Super Bowl, and everybody watched it that night. I tried to watch it 5 times before I got through it, and when I finally got through it, I was like, it's bad. This movie sucks. I don't get why that end scene with Clover is at the end. It makes no sense. Oh, the Hurricane Heist. I'd rather watch Hard Rain, because Hard Rain's a better movie. It's a terrible movie, but it's better than Hurricane Heist. Hurricane Heist, it's the director of the original XXX and Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. That should tell you what you're getting into. This movie doesn't commit to its absurdity. It takes itself way too seriously. It also makes no sense. Like, why are people eating sandwiches in a garage, in the middle of a torrential downpour of a rainstorm? Also, there's a high-speed chase in, like, the smallest town possible, with a wet ground. That increases the risk of hydroplaning. It makes no sense. It's one of the dumbest heist movies I've ever seen. It's also one of the most boring heist movies I've ever seen. Speaking of boring movies, coming in at number 4. Possession of Hannah Grace, aka Ugly Hallways, the movie. Nothing, I repeat, nothing happens in this movie. It is the most boring 88 minutes, actually 85 minutes of my life. Not even. This movie's like 78 minutes without credits. It's the most boring thing ever. Nothing happens. One of the most uneventful movies of the year. It's got terrible ADR. It's filmed in the most random place in Boston you can think of. And you can tell this movie didn't have a budget, unfortunately. This is the horror. Oh, the horror. Filmmakers must have been possessed when they were making this movie, because they didn't make a good movie. We got more horror movies. Winchester. It has a great cast. I mean, Helen Mirren, Jason Clarke. It's just the Spirig brothers directing. That's great. But how does a movie turn out to be this bad and this dull? I don't get it. This should have been one of the better horror movies of the year. Instead, it's really, really atrocious. I'm dumbfounded right now. Wow! Let the horror binge continue. Number 2 is Slender Man. There were some great horror movies on my top 10 best movies of the year list. This is like 3 in a row on the worst list. How is that possible? Okay, now my voice is really going. Just the fact that they took something that was so popular on the internet and tried to turn it into a feature-length film Why does Joey King, who has such great talent, continue to be in these dumb horror movies? Why do we have to keep making internet things a thing? Can we just let it die? This was a thing like, what, 10 years ago? I get it. You know what would have been a more interesting movie? They actually taken the real life case that happened and turned that into a movie about. You could have still called it Slender Man. Instead, you have to make him like this crazy, I don't know. Fuck this movie. Forget about it. Number 1 is not a horror movie, but it is definitely a horror movie. 50 Shades Freed. Thank fucking God we are freed of this goddamn franchise. And I hate these movies. Thank God they're over. Thank God this terrible Twilight fan fiction is gone. It's over. Never have to talk about this shit again. The funniest thing about this movie is that it turns from some BDSM romantic movie into some action thriller at the end. I started laughing my ass off. There's nothing sexy about this movie. There's nothing kinky about these movies. These movies literally exist for 50-year-old women to go to the theater without their husbands and just play with themselves for 2 hours. They're literally nothing about these movies are great, and especially this one. They're the worst movies ever made. Put it that way. Jamie Dornan doesn't want to even be in this movie. You can tell Dakota Johnson's just like, I guess I gotta do it, fulfill my contract. Everybody just doesn't want to do it. Why did they make more? Luckily, we're not getting another one. You know what? Does anybody have this on Blu-ray? Because I want to light it on fire. I'm going to take everybody's Blu-ray copy. Whoever bought this on Blu-ray, I'm going to take your copy and I'm just going to light it on fire. Because none of these movies should exist. Guys, that's it for my top 10 worst movies of the year list. I will leave my link to my website in the description below. There you will find all my links to my social media accounts. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. I should have a top 10 underrated / overlooked films list coming up soon. Don't know when. I have to find the time for that. But you guys are the best. I'll see you soon. Catch you on the flip side.